For 6 years, I thought the life that I was living was going to be what the rest of my life looks like. A lot of people have been asking me, what was it that really pushed me to move out of the United States and move halfway across the world to Thailand all by myself? For those of you who don't know me, my name's Jillian. I'm a solo traveler, originally from New York City, who's now living in Thailand. I moved here 2 years ago and changed my entire life. Now, I just want to give you a heads up. This is not going to be a happy story, but it is the story of what pushed me to choose my own happiness. So there are many reasons I chose to leave the United States and move all the way to Thailand, but there is a major reason that actually gave me the push to do it. So for 6 years prior to moving to Thailand, I was in a highly emotionally abusive relationship. And looking back at that time in my life now, honestly, I can't even believe that that's how I was living my life for 6 whole years. That's the better half of a decade. And the thing is, I just felt so stuck. I felt so stuck. I was a shell of the woman that you see now who has chosen her own happiness and is bubbly and is laughing. I was a shell of that person during that time. But emotional abuse is super confusing, right? It's, in my opinion, not the same thing as physical abuse or infidelity. I remember there being days where I prayed that he would hit me or that he would cheat on me, so I would have a concrete reason to leave. But I felt stuck. I felt like I couldn't get out, and I felt like I would never get out. I can't even tell you how many times I would think, this is forever, this is forever. I'm going to be miserable like this forever, and forever is a long time. But for those 6 years, I did not know how I was going to get myself out of the situation that I was in, and I worked hard to fix it. I really, really worked hard to fix it, but a relationship works 2 ways. It's a 2-way street. If I'm the only one doing the work, then there's only so much that I can do. But I don't know why, for so long, I just felt like I couldn't leave. I felt like I couldn't leave. And I know that a lot of women and also men out there probably have gone through or are going through something similar and feel the same way, but we stay quiet about it, right? While I was feeling stuck, I didn't tell a soul what was actually going on in my relationship. I put on a happy face. I made everybody think that everything was okay because I was ashamed. I was ashamed of what I was going through, and I didn't want anyone around me to know, because if people that are close to me know what I'm actually going through, they would have convinced me to leave. And for some reason, I felt like I had to stay for so long. And like I said before, emotional abuse is confusing, right? 1 minute, somebody is screaming at you or slamming doors or throwing a tantrum or acting completely erratic. But then the next minute, they're cuddling up to you and telling you how much they love you. And it's the most confusing feeling. It's like, do you love me or do you hate me? Which one is it? So I spent a lot of those 6 years feeling stuck and confused. And I remember 4 years into the relationship, that's when I started to have these thoughts of, maybe this doesn't have to be my forever. Maybe I can change my story. Maybe I can get out of the situation that I'm in. But, that was 4 years into a 6-year relationship. So once I started having those thoughts, I tried to bury them in the back of my mind. So I was in a little bit of a denial phase. I had the thoughts, but I tried to push them away because I think partially I was still feeling like I was fighting for the relationship, or that I had to stay for whatever reason. So I had the thoughts and I would shove them away. I had the thoughts and I would shove them away. During that time, I had also started going to therapy myself, and I think maybe that helped me kind of flush out everything that I was going through and everything that I was feeling, dealing with, and help me start to come to the realization that I deserve better and I need to leave this situation and choose my own happiness. But at year 4, that's only when the thoughts began. And I remember slowly, I would start to tell my best friend a little bit about it. And I knew once you say it out loud, then it becomes true, right? So the longer I kept things to myself, the longer I could try to avoid what was actually happening in my life becoming a reality. So I remember slowly starting to talk about it. And, I told my therapist all about it, but she was my therapist. She couldn't tell me to leave his ass, She's a professional. But at year 4, that's when I started having those thoughts. And that's when I started solo traveling, even though I was still in the relationship, and we would travel together all the time, but I started to take my own solo trips on the side because I felt like I needed to go away, isolate myself, and just really reflect on my life as a whole and look at the big picture and find the strength to leave the situation that I was in. So as I was going through all of that, there were other things about living in New York and working in New York and running the rat race and being in the United States that was making me feel like I needed to leave and change my life. So a lot of you know that I was a public school, high school math teacher in New York City, and the job was also just killing me. The system is broken. I felt like from when I started teaching to where I was at then, my creativity used to be embraced as a teacher, and now I was being asked to follow a scripted curriculum, and if I broke the script, I would be reprimanded for it. So I felt like I had no space to be an individual in my profession, and then I was going home to an emotionally abusive relationship. And then I remember there was this guy at work. His name's George Maldonado. One of the best guys that you could ever meet. He was only in his 50s. I would say he was in his mid-50s. But everybody in the public school system in New York anyway, they're just miserable. They walk into work, they're not smiling. But George was everybody's friend. You could walk into work and you could be in a bad mood, and he would say good morning to you, and there was no way that you couldn't smile at this man. He was everybody's friend, and he made everybody's day better. And him and I would talk all the time, and he would see my photos from my travels, and he would always say, when I retire, I'm going to travel like you. I'm going to go see the world. And he was close to retirement, right? He was in his mid-50s. And then one day, suddenly, he passed away of a heart attack. He never got to retire, and he never got to live his life the way he wanted to. He was waiting until he retired. And something about that really got me thinking. It really got me thinking about everything that was going on in my life as a whole. I started to think, people who live here, people who work for this system, people who are in these toxic, abusive relationships, they're waiting for something, waiting for retirement, waiting for something to change, to then actually live their life and choose their own happiness. And it really got me thinking, I can't wait any longer to live my life the way that I should be living my life. I cannot wait any longer. What am I going to wait for? Retirement to start living my life the way I want to? What am I waiting for this person that I'm with to change? Like, let's be honest, it's been 6 years. I don't think he's ever going to change. And I had to really get real with myself and take a step back and ask myself, am I happy? Am I living my life to the fullest? And the thing is, I was not happy. I was miserable. I walked around my house walking on eggshells. I walked around my house terrified that at any moment, this man was gonna come home in a mood and start screaming and slamming doors. I was anxious all the time. And I told myself, that's it. I have to make a change. I have so much to offer that I don't deserve to be living my life like this. I truly, truly don't. And the thing is, I was thinking back to before the relationship started. I was like, I used to have this spark about me, this spunk about my personality. And I felt like that was completely gone. I looked in the mirror and I was like, who am I anymore? Who is this girl that I'm looking at? But it's not the girl who's always laughing. It's not the girl who's always bubbly, who's always happy. Like, where is she? And, little things like, okay, when I was living in New York, I would love to, when I'm driving my car, just blast music and have a concert in my car. Right? I used to always just blast my favorite music, sing, dance in the car, anywhere I was driving to work, driving to the supermarket, driving anywhere, have a full-blown performance in the car. I used to do that all the time. And I remember when I was having this realization, I was like, when was the last time I actually played music in the car? I was driving my car in dead silence, like a serial killer for years. So little things like that, it made me realize that I lost myself. I completely lost myself. And at that time, I was terrified that I would never get myself back. So I had made the decision that I was going to leave the relationship. I didn't know how, I didn't know when, but I had already made the decision in myself and made the promise to myself, like, I'm gonna get myself out. I'm gonna get myself out of it. And I always had this idea to live abroad. As soon as I started traveling, I knew I didn't want to live in the United States anymore, but I didn't know how I was gonna make the move or how I was gonna make it work. I had no idea. I remember that year when I was having all these epiphanies about my life, I got COVID really, really bad. So I was stuck home from work for at least a week. And I was just watching Netflix, and this is gonna sound so corny, but I was binge watching Emily in Paris. And in Emily in Paris, Emily is an American girl who moved to Paris to work, and the more episodes I watched, I was like, I want to be her, right? I want to be this American girl who moves abroad and changes their life. And I know it sounds corny because it's Emily in Paris, but I mean, being sick with COVID and just binge watching that all week, it re-sparked the idea of moving abroad. So I started applying to jobs at international schools in a lot of different countries. And I got offered jobs in South Korea, in China, in the Netherlands, and other parts of Thailand. But where I'm living now in Phuket, that's where the job was. And listen, I'm an island girl. I know I was born and raised in New York City, but I'm definitely a beach person. I'm a mermaid at heart. I felt like I'm meant to live on an island. And there was only one job in Phuket. And I told myself, if I get this job in Phuket, no ifs, ands, or buts, I'm taking it and I'm not looking back. Because there's a lot of jobs in Thailand, like in Bangkok, but I didn't really want to move from New York City to another big city. I wanted to move to an island. So while I was applying to jobs and getting offered so many, at the time, I was surprised I was even getting offered these jobs. I figured nobody's going to want to offer a job to me. I'm just an American, right? We're behind in math in America and behind in education in general. Like who's even going to want to hire me? But then all these schools started offering me positions. And I was getting scared. I remember telling my therapist, I scare myself because I'm a doer. Once I put something in my mind, I always follow through and do it. So now I had this crazy idea to pick up my entire life and move halfway across the world without knowing anyone. And I told my therapist, I scare myself because I know now that I have this thought, I know that I'm going to do it. And I'm scared. Because at the time, if you've never lived abroad before, thinking about doing what I did is terrifying. It's absolutely terrifying. But I told myself, no matter how scared you are, if you get this job in Phuket, you have to take it. You have to take it because jobs in locations like this are few and far between. And I ended up killing the interview, and they literally hired me the next day. So it was a done deal. I was like, that's it. I'm taking it. And I mean, that time of my life, from accepting the job to moving it, I was on an emotional roller coaster. There were so many things. I went from being happy and excited to being scared to doubting myself to questioning, should I even do this? Like, am I crazy? Am I really, really that crazy to move halfway across the world? And at the time, I was still in this emotionally abusive relationship. I had already known I was leaving. I just didn't know how I was leaving yet. So I get the job. He knows about the job. And I think in his head, he thought that somehow we were going to make the long distance work. But I knew this ain't working. This is my ticket out of here. So, I don't want to give him the credit for me making the decision to move because it was a dream of mine. It was a dream of mine for a long time. It was a dream of mine before I was stuck in the position that I was in to move and live abroad. But it did help give me the push. I couldn't have picked a further place in the world to get away from this man. I got as far away as possible from this man, let me tell you. And then I remember I had another epiphany, right? This was a pivotal moment. So we went on a trip together to Utah. Now, there's a reason why I solo travel now, right? Because traveling with me is not for the weak. I am somebody that wants to do everything, see everything, and I will walk until my feet are bleeding if it's something that I want to see, right? Nothing will stop me from seeing the corners of the earth that I want to see. But the guy that I was dating, he couldn't really keep up with me, to be honest. We would go on trips together, and I wanted to do the most, and I would be constantly getting yelled at, you're gonna get us killed one day. You always gotta see the view. Like, I'm laughing now, but let me tell you, I was not laughing during these interactions while they were actually happening. But he couldn't keep up with me. And you know what? I don't blame him. Not a lot of people can. But I would always push when we would travel to see everything I wanted to see. And sadly, this is sad to say, I just accepted, okay, we're going to make a long journey. We're going to do a long hike. We're going to have a jam-packed day, and I'm just going to get screamed at the whole time. And I accepted it. I just accepted it. But I was like, you know what? It'll be worth it. It'll be worth it to get screamed at if I get to see the view at the end of the day. If I get to the top of the mountain. If I get to go on the 8-hour boat journey, whatever it is, right? I knew going into those days I was going to get screamed at the whole time, but I just accepted it. And that is so freaking sad. thinking about it. But that's how I was living. That's how I was traveling. But anyway, we went on this trip to Utah. And by the time the trip came, I happened to be so sick. I was so sick with some like flu, respiratory virus. And it was a hiking trip. And I still did all the hikes, you know. I'm a trooper like that. But it was very difficult to do when I was so ill. So I remember there was this one place I needed to see. It was a 6-hour drive away. And I knew when I planned the itinerary, because I always planned everything, that day I was going to get screamed at the whole day because he wouldn't be down to take a 6-hour journey. And before I got sick, I was like, whatever, I'm used to it. I'll get yelled at the whole way there, but then I'm going to get to see this place that I'm dying to see. So we were there, and I was sick, and I went over the plan, and he was already complaining and moaning and crying, and I said, you want to know what? I'm actually too sick to deal with this today. I'm actually too sick. Like, I was so sick, I'm like, I don't think I can handle it. I don't think I can handle getting screamed at for 6 hours in the car and then 6 hours on the way back. I'm like, I just can't do it this time. I felt weak. And I said, you know what, forget it, we won't go. I gave him what he wanted. And I didn't get to see what I wanted to see. And I don't know if I ever will now. So when we got home from that trip and I recovered, I was reflecting on it. And I was so mad. I was so upset that I didn't get to see something that I really, really wanted to see because of this person. And then that was kind of it for me. That was it for me. Because travel and seeing these things, it's my number one passion in life. My number one passion. I have a burning desire to see all corners of the earth. And like I said, nothing will stop me. But I let somebody stop me. And there was something about that. And yes, I already knew for 2 years at this point that I wanted to leave this relationship. But that was like the nail in the coffin for me. I was like, ain't nobody gonna stop me from seeing what I want to see and doing what I want to do. And I had already taken the job in Thailand, and I didn't know how I was going to cut ties. He was thinking that we were going to stay together, and I was thinking, you know, maybe I'll move and things will fizzle out naturally. But that was the nail in the coffin for me. I was like, that's it, I'm done. I was pissed. At that point, I was absolutely pissed. And, you know, I sat down with him and I finally cut it off. And it wasn't pretty, you know, it wasn't pretty. I expressed everything, all the abuse that I was receiving from him for 6 years. And, you know, this is not a sane person. This is not a sane person. So it didn't go well. There was no accountability taken. And at the time, I was sad about it. But now I don't really care at all. But, and I think the longer that the relationship went on, that's kind of also what stopped me from ending it, because I knew that it wasn't going to be pretty. You know, when I ended it, I do remember one thing he said, like, you know, he said, I would have stuck with you until the day that I died. I'm sure you would. I'm sure you would, because I'm a freaking catch, right? But if that's the way you felt, you should have treated me right. And I'm a damn fool for letting it go on for 6 whole years. So that was the moment that I just felt strong enough to actually leave. And I'm actually so thankful for that moment. Even though I was already leaving already, it allowed me to enjoy the rest of the time that I had in New York before moving to Thailand, because the time between me taking the job and actually moving was a long time, right? So I could have dragged it out for much longer and then left and let things fizzle out. But that bought me time. It bought me time to hang out with the people that I love in New York City, right? My friends and my family. And it gave me time to say goodbye to New York in a proper way, rather than me feeling like I had to run away, right? It let me enjoy the rest of the time that I had there. So I am thankful for that moment, and whatever it was that just made me snap. And a lot of what I worked on in therapy before I even left the relationship was the fact that happiness is a choice, right? Happiness is a choice, and it's the harder choice to make, right? It's easier to choose to be miserable. It's harder to actually choose happiness. And that was something I was continuously working on while I was in therapy. But once that switch went off in my brain and I left the relationship, I was able to go 100% in on choosing happiness for myself. And, you know, that looks different every day. You know, there are big things that I do to choose happiness, like moving to Thailand and leaving a toxic environment. Like, the relationship was super toxic, but New York City in general was super toxic for me. Like I said, the job, and my ex wasn't the only miserable person that I was surrounded by. I felt like everyone I was surrounded by was miserable. So happiness being a choice, sometimes it looks like making big moves, like moving halfway across the world all by myself. And sometimes it's small things, like you have to learn how to celebrate the small wins every day so that when bad things happen, they don't feel so big anymore, right? We tend to, when we go through hardship, we let it become all-consuming, right? And then you focus so hard on the negative and everything feels like it's life-ending, right? Everything bad that happens feels like it's the end of the world. But that's because we're not focusing on the little ways that we're winning every day, right? So I started actively doing that with stupid things like in New York City, right? It's impossible to find parking. And I worked in a public school, and sometimes I would have to park like 10 blocks away. But then there would be those random days where I would get a parking spot directly in front of the school. And I started, whenever I would get a good parking spot, I would throw a party in my car. I was like, woo, I got a parking spot. Like, I would celebrate those little things so hard. And as I kept doing that, and as I kept operating like that and shifting my mindset to celebrate the small wins every day, because we are winning every day. We're winning every day. We're just not focusing on it. Then when bad things would happen, they just wouldn't seem so bad anymore, and they would just be a lot easier to manage. So in my opinion, those are just some ways that choosing happiness looks like. And I decided all those years ago, and I'm still committed every day to choosing happiness, because it is the harder choice. And it's not easy to do it every day, right? Because everybody has bad days. It's impossible for somebody to be happy every single day. That's just not possible. But it's something that I'm actively working on every single day. So I'm sharing this story because so many people ask me how I became this person that's brave enough to move halfway across the world all by themselves, who's brave enough to solo travel to all corners of the earth, who's brave enough to go live in public in a vulnerable way and learn a new skill. It's honestly the hardship that I've been through that has continued to make me stronger and stronger. And, you know, I felt inclined to tell my story because for so many years, I was ashamed of what I went through. And I kept it a secret. And I didn't want to tell anybody about it because I was so embarrassed, because people who know me and people who have known me forever, even since, you know, growing up, has always considered me one of the strongest people that they know. And I was so ashamed that somebody who people already viewed as strong was actually acting so weak in my own life. I was ashamed of it, and I didn't want anyone to know. But the more that the years go by since leaving that situation, and the more that I've healed from that situation, I am really, really proud of the woman that I've become. And I don't regret the relationship at all, because it made me who I am. Everything that we go through shapes us into who we become. Do I wish I would have gotten out of it faster than 6 years? Yeah, I wish it didn't take me 6 years to leave the situation, but I don't regret it, because it taught me a lot. It taught me what I will never settle for ever again in my life, right? The second I see signs of what I went through, I will leave immediately. And I learned that, right? It's easy to know what you want, but it's important to know what you don't want. I mean, and nobody wants what I went through, but it's really important to realize what is unacceptable. Everybody looks for qualities in a person that's checks all the boxes, whatever their boxes are. But what about the things that are unacceptable? What about the things that you won't stand for? Those are more important. And that relationship taught me that. It taught me to never accept that type of behavior from people again. And that doesn't just go for romantic relationships. It goes for friendships and family relationships and all types of interpersonal relationships. So I finally feel brave enough to share my story, and me doing this and being vulnerable is just another example of me stepping out of my comfort zone and being brave. The quote that I live by is, "Dreams die in the comfort zone." And me sharing the story is just another example of how that quote is exactly how I live my life every single day. And I'm also sharing the story for the many people who might be going through the same situation that I was going through, right? Maybe you feel stuck. Maybe you were in a similar boat, or maybe you are in a similar boat that I was in. And I want to encourage anybody who is going through something similar that you can get out. Even when you feel stuck, you can get out. Even when you feel confused, you can get yourself out of it. I remember my mom even saying, when I finally opened up to my mother, I hid it from my mother because, she's my mom. If she would have known what I was going through, she would have been like, hell no, you better leave him. So when it was all said and done, I shared it with my mother. I shared it with my family. And, my mom said, at least you got out of it. At least you got out of it. So, I want to inspire people who are going through the same thing to be strong enough and brave enough to leave. And you can choose your own happiness. We all can, right? But you have to understand that happiness is a choice, and it is the harder choice. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of work on yourself. But if you're willing to put in the work, you can be happy. You can change your life. I mean, look at me. I was living in a world that I felt like I was dying in. I wasn't living, I was dying in New York City for so many reasons. And now, when I tell you I am living my best life, I am living my best life. This was the best decision that I could have ever made for myself, for my mental health, for my well-being, for my happiness, right? It was the best decision that I could have ever made. And it was a risk. It was a risk, one of the many risks in my life that I have taken. And damn, I am so happy that I took the risk. So that's my story for everyone who was asking me what it was that actually gave me the push to move halfway across the world, what it was that gave me the courage to do what I did. And now you know. I know a lot of people watching that know me personally probably have no idea that I was going through this. People who I worked with or I would see on a daily basis have no idea that behind the scenes, this is what I was going home to. But that is my story, and I will continue to be vulnerable and open up about all things in my life that continue to push me to be a risk taker, continue to push me to always step out of my comfort zone and continue to evolve to become the best, absolute best version of myself, which is what I encourage everybody to do. So if you're interested in hearing more about my story and my input on things, make sure that you like and subscribe for more videos of me being vulnerable like this, as well as travel content, as well as me learning how to vibe code in public every single day.